With this as an icebreaker, it's quite fun if you use it in event, particularly like an event about networking. So hopefully you enjoy that and found out about your colleagues here. Some quite quirky ones on there. Most popular person that people want to meet appears to be Barack Obama. Not Donald Trump, surprise. And there was something else. There was a few more for you to come back to. Anyway, thank you very much for participating in that. Let's get back to the subject at hand of networking. And just a little bit more about me. So I'm just going to give you a slightly different kind of self-introduction. And just so you know, you will all shortly have another opportunity to do a self-introduction. Because that's so critical, as you all know, in terms of first impression management when you're out there meeting new people. So, I'm Stuart Lindenfield, as you know. I'm a career consultant and writer. I specialise in supporting transitioning individuals using a broad range of tools and skills. Three I'll highlight are developing sharpened insights into the appealing strengths of my clients, helping clients to capture what they can offer in a standout CV, and also helping them enhance the variety and effectiveness of their networking activity, all in furtherance of securing the right kind of future for themselves. So it's a slightly different kind of self-introduction because I incorporate some, if you like, specialisms. And you sort of do that as hooks to engage other people. So we're all going to be doing that again, shortly, if that's all right with you, if that's all right with everybody else, because you've already done it once. So I'll just move on to the next slide, which is about, it's called What's the Point? I don't think I'm in an environment where I need to really work too hard to, if you like, sell the idea of the importance of networking. I guess all of you, or hopefully most of you, have sold on the value of networking. So I'm not going to work too hard on that. I've included a little, one of the sources of this information is in fact the CDS website, which was quite interesting. But the reality is, as I'm sure you've found, that some clients, you mention the word networking and you see the eyes sort of roll. You know, and many people, you know, some of us love it, but some people loathe it. But of course, if you ask the self-same client whose eyes have just rolled in despair in the mention of the word networking, how they got their current job, they'll normally say something like, oh, well, it was actually through a friend of a friend. So there's a sort of mismatch in terms of what do we really mean by networking. So I'm just going to consult some notes I made here because I thought I just wanted to refresh my understanding of what the dictionary definitions are of networking. So I went on to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which is the second most consulted dictionary we have in the UK. And it defines networking as the exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions. The Oxford English Dictionary defines networking as to connect as or operate with a network. All factually sort of true, but I don't think those definitions are particularly helpful in terms of engaging clients in the process of networking. So here we are, you know, you've all come to a session on networking, we're talking about networking. But there's really often a lot of clarity about what we mean. So let me just throw it out to you, very experienced career consultant. How would you define networking? What is it?
I find it as researching.
Researching.
Yeah, finding out information before you get stuck in.
Okay, researching, sure.
Making contact and keeping contact.
Sorry?
Making contact and keeping in contact.
Making contact and keeping in contact. Great.
An exchange of information which might be mutually beneficial at some point.
Absolutely. Very important word. Sessions.
Fact finding
Yeah, fact finding.
and raising your profile.
Okay.
Asking for referrals.
Okay. That's good.
Connecting with movers and shakers?
Connecting with moving shapers, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes referred to as relationship management,
Yes.
the nurturing relationships.
Lovely. I like the word. Okay, so we've got a number of aspects of it there. We've got research, we've got fact finding. We've got engaging with movers and shakers, relationship management. All of these are really useful. So what I've tried to do is put together a working definition that hopefully captures most of those elements. Let's just see. So developing and nurturing a web of relationships will have the potential for mutual benefit. Of course, the word mutual is the single most important word in that sentence. So, one of the problems, as we're going to be talking about a little bit later on, we're going to be looking at the blocks to networking. In other words, the reasons why often clients either don't go networking or will certainly restrict their networking activity to their detriment. And we're going to be talking and doing an exercise on the blocks that people often make for themselves in networking. But often you find people, when I talk about how networking is a really useful thing to do when you're in transition, and that involves asking people for help, often the question comes back, but why would anybody want to help me? In brackets, little old me. And often, as you all will know, this transition event can dent people's self-esteem. And when they have that mindset that they're redundant, no longer required, etc., surplus to requirements, then often that does dent their sense of self-belief and their self-esteem. So it's very important to flip people's mindsets so that when they're thinking about networking, they're thinking of the value they can bring to others rather than why people wouldn't want to help them. So that really is the principal focus when I start working with clients, I think, actually building their self-belief in what they can do. So good, okay, we're now going to look at doing these self-introductions again so that people have a handle on the kind of things that you offer, the kind of things that you can do, those elements of your, if you like, skill set that are likely to be interesting to the person you're talking to. So we're going to have a 5-minute session, meet at least 3 new people. Now, the concept of new for some of you may be difficult or impossible. I'm thinking of the CDO. But maybe the other consultants may not have met some of the other consultants. So where possible, if you can, this will involve standing up and moving around and talking to people. If you can find a total of 3 people, well, at least 3 people, to whom you can just have a sort of a practice of your self-introduction. And within that self-introduction, you sort of remind people or tell people what you do, and then highlight 3 key areas of knowledge or skill or expertise that you believe you have. May be interesting for the other person to know about. And then to wrap up with why you're here. It's always good when you meet people to explain what on earth you're doing there, particularly when you're networking in a sort of an unstructured kind of scenario. There's no sort of agenda for people to follow or roles that people have in that situation. So, there we go. We've got 5 minutes. I'd like you to introduce yourself following that kind of format to at least 3 people.
Who is it who wanted to sail a J-class yacht? Good, I'll come down.
I do have
Can we reconvene, everybody, please? Thank you.
I gave you no credit whatsoever. No. Yeah, well, probably not. Not since first I know where. Well, I mean, I've not shown. They end up
So we probably exchange business cards.
Yeah,
That's just good to have.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
Stuart, just one thing I said, I certainly when I'm working with clients on the great transition from work life, the first time you say network, you can see the blood coming out of the face. But one of the things I try to help them to understand is the majority of networking is actually just one-to-one conversations. It isn't one-to-many. You're not standing in a room and trying to balance your plate and glass.
Yeah.
It is actually about connecting with people on a one-to-one basis. And I think that certainly helps people to get past some of the fear. If you can help them to understand that.
Yeah, good point. Thank you for Ray. Ray lives in Train.
Somebody does it.
Best place in there. There used to be a mobile phone shop in Tree called Tree Tones. We do have a TV station. We've got Tree TV.
Right, I'm going to move on. We need a few minutes left. There's a few important
And then
things.
the alarms go.
So I want to just now show you some sample and real actual comments from clients over the years. Not just my clients, but other people in my kind of world, your kind of world. Things people have said about networking. Let me just show you. So, yeah, I could never be any good at it because I don't have the right personality for it. I'm just not the gregarious type. So this is a very common reason I hear as well for why networking isn't suitable. You see a few others there. I'm not going to read them all out. But, oh yeah. A new client of mine says, whenever I go to an event, it's full of people chattering away in their little cliques and I'm on my own. I've tried standing around for a while, but nothing happens.
That's the reason why.
No comment. And then there's a couple. Anyway, what I've done is put together 10 of these reasons why networking isn't for me kind of thing. And what the idea is, and we've just got time to slot it in, is to do a little exercise where I think just sitting in your groups of, let's say we've got a group of 5 here, and a group of 5 here, and a group of 5 here. And oh no, that's a big group. Would you mind being outside of this? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're a group, so there need to be some moving around.
Yeah, sure.
If that's all right. And a group of 4 down here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for each group is going around to give 2 of these statements. And as a group, what I'd like to just discuss how you would help a client who is offering that reason for not being able to either network or be effective. And then after a couple of minutes, we'll share your findings. That's all right. So this is the first group, and there's copies of the 2 blockage statements, as I call them. There is yours, but you 3 will need to. No, but these 3 are part of this group.
We'll bring our chairs round. We'll bring our chairs round.
Okay, so thank you for your energetic participation in that. It'd be great, just very briefly, to hear what your thoughts were, what you came up with that might help clients with this kind of, if you like, mindset. So who'd like to dive in first?
I would.
You would. Okay.
There you go.
Effective delegation, that's another subject.
When we have the question or the statement, I could never be any good at it because I just don't have the right personality for it. I'm just not this type. So we had a good think around this, didn't we, as to how we could approach it, and
We had the introverted perspective, which is interesting.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'm an introvert, having to speak in front of this. I've tried this myself because as an introvert, I do find it clicking with lots of people that I don't know quite, scary. And what I found is working is arriving quite early. So you literally the first person there, you make yourself coffee and you just start a conversation with the first other person arriving and having coffee, and that just starts things off.
Correct.
I think another technique that I sometimes advise my clients with is in that kind of situation where you're in a room, perhaps a little bit like this, and you don't know anybody, it's maybe an exhibition or conference or something like that, is if there is a group of at least 3 people in a huddle, if you approach that group even without saying anything, they often tend to open out to admit you. In the circle opens and you take a space in that circle, and that's also the opportunity for somebody else just to walk away and join another.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's just one person standing by themselves, that's an obvious target, if you like, because they might be feeling the same way that you do.
Yes, you have to be a little bit careful with that, because you might discover why they're on their own.
Same reason as you.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you very much indeed. And what about the next group?
We've got, I'm naturally timid and find any kind of socialising too nerve-wracking. That's just the way I am.
Okay, similar kind of thing. So how would you unblock that?
Well, we had various.
We had a range of different things. One was the idea of going to a group of 3 or 4 and they would open up.
Yeah.
Another one was often if it's a business requirement, taking someone with you who's actually very gregarious and would naturally introduce you with some of the ideas down here.
If this conference, you actually orchestrate it, you get organised, you look who's attending, you go to their LinkedIn profile, and then you focus. I mean, you find areas where there is, sort of areas of conviviality. So you look at, skydiving, you think, okay, I'm going to talk to this person, but they're in the same sector. There's something that you can ask and you know.
Stalk in advance.
Absolutely, it works.
And we talked about target-driven people as well, didn't we? Where if you someone who's hugely target-driven, if you set them a target of X many people, they would probably find more motivation.
That's true.
We had a useful discussion about LinkedIn as well. Why should I use LinkedIn? Because I don't trust it. And there's some really good ideas there.
Such as?
Well, asking them do they use any other social media and how do they feel about that?
Yeah.
You suggested showing somebody that they know is on LinkedIn to sort of build reassurance.
Yeah.
We had someone else had some comments about that as well. You said something about someone you'd known about 8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah, turning it round, and they've got the idea, the fear of I don't want to call this person, I don't want to make a fool of myself, don't want to pester or whatever.
Yeah.
But just to turn it round, and if somebody came to you that you haven't spoken to in 8 years, and they got on the phone and they said, hey, how you doing? And they were okay when you knew them before, and just verbalise a scenario, what would you do? And they said, well, obviously I'd try and help where I could, so that's what we're talking about.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Right. Moving on.
Our first one was whenever I go to an event full of people chattering away in their little cliques, and I'm on my own, I've tried standing around for a while, but nothing helps. And we suggested threatening with violence. And the second one, obviously that wasn't what we came up with. But no, the second one is a very simple one, really. Never know what to say or how to say it. Sometimes people do need reminding, strangely enough, that they tend to ask an awful lot of closed questions. And if you just focus people on practicing a few really good generic open-ended questions, so for instance, what was it in your last role that you enjoyed the most? Or what areas motivated you or made you excited? At least it means that people are then talking to you an awful lot. That, we were all saying that if we go to an event and you ask lots of good open-ended questions, you find out an awful lot about everyone else. They often don't ask you much about you, but you find out a lot about anyone else by being very focused on getting people to talk and listening, because people love talking about themselves.
Absolutely. And listening. That's great. Thank you very much indeed. And
I know that networking is supposed to be an important way of getting people to help you, but I just don't see why anyone would want to help me. So we said, well, Ray said quite simply, putting the question to the person, what would you do if somebody came to you and asked you for help? Of course I'd help.
Okay. All right.
The other thing we talked about was preparation.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go into a conversation with somebody, know what questions you want to ask in advance.
Yeah.
So think of a bit of rehearsal.
Absolutely.
And then Kate was talking about the idea of actually ranking people in terms of who you know best and how you feel most comfortable approaching them. So you would actually then start off with people who know you well,
Yeah.
and again you can practice
Yeah.
which you can do on the list.
Excellent.
Yeah, we felt that sort of pushing a fairly nervous client into a sort of big networking
Yes.
event was probably not the ideal way to build confidence. So we thought sort of doing it on a one-to-one basis with kind of some softer targets to begin with,
Yeah.
to sort of hone your networking skills and your messaging, and then sort of gradually kind of eking it up in terms of the the people you don't know so well.
Yeah.
So and you're then going into their connections and what have you.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Great. Thank you all very much for that. We found that quite useful when confronted with clients who are challenged by networking. So I just want to wrap up the session with just a few slides that might be of interest in relation to some research that was done a couple of years ago now in preparation for a book about networking. Sorry. Oh yes. Stuart Lindenfield. Stuart Lindenfield for the price of one. So we spent about 2.5 years trying to make contact. Bit late. Yeah, my co-author and I spent about 2.5 years speaking to people who we believed were very effective networkers. And the purpose of the conversations was to try and distill what were the key characteristics of people who were good at it, who made a success of it, and also what were the key behaviours that those people were employing to generate successful results. So in the book, we've, for a bit of fun, we've called the characteristics the cool cat characteristics, and we've called the behavioural styles the buzzy bee behaviours, as you will see. So let me just show you how this all works. So those are the cool cat qualities, and the number one that was sort of by a long way the number one was having a strong sense of self-belief. So I think this is worth just dwelling on for a moment. We won't have time to dwell on all of them, unfortunately, but the self-belief one I think is particularly important because without self-belief, our sort of primitive urge to survive and thrive is quite substantially weaker. And it also, in terms of career transition, if you've got your sort of low self that sort of undermines your potential. For example, it can undermine what you think of as your achievements, because our brains will tend to automatically retrieve information from our memories, which harmonizes with our current emotional state. So if your emotional state is where you're feeling rather flaky, with low self-belief and not sure of your value, you'll retrieve, when asked a question, memories that are in tune with that emotional state. It's something that is really, really vital, and I find more and more, I've been doing this work over many years. Hopefully is it. That not paying attention to this early in the process can be quite dangerous. So it's definitely worth the effort to help people manage that, and to help people recognise that they're acting as if they're not valuing themselves, if they don't realise they're doing it. Sometimes having to be a mirror. And just looking through the others, and they are in order of merit actually. So the second one, incorruptible integrity. Integrity is the glue that holds a network together. It's what trust is the basis of the nature of engagement of the network. Once that goes out the window, it's difficult. Calculated courage is about moving, daring, a bigger dare each week, if you like, of moving beyond your comfort zone, maybe starting one-to-one networking. One-to-one networking can be a minefield as well, because sometimes people get to that one-to-one situation and don't know what to do, and don't know what to ask for, or end up asking for something that's realistic. Genuine generosity, yes, makes a difference. I mean, ironically, networking actually is.
That is the last one.
It's a business activity, it's not a charity. But the more charitably you give, the more business results you get, as I'm sure you know. The unashamed humility is about not pretending we have it all, we know everything, and being open to our limitations and shortcomings. So there we have the 6 key characteristics of the networkers that we interviewed in preparation for the book. And finally, these are behaviors. So successful networkers were able to find a way of making a strong, positive, and memorable impact as soon as they met somebody. They weren't wishy-washy. They were clear in terms of the way they presented themselves and spoke about themselves. They were able to converse with confidence, in other words, in a way that was engaging. So, interestingly, I was talking to Ray just now, about a leadership survey that I've read recently, where there were 500 or 600 senior leaders, CEO kind of people in large FTSE businesses that were asked what they considered the key skills of a leader. And I have to admit, I was quite surprised at what was number one. Anybody like to guess what the leaders who were asked on this survey thought were the most important skills of a leader, or the most important skill of a leader? Integrity. No, that was number 2.
Communication.
That was number 3.
Listening?
Well, listening, that's it. Just said listening. Very good, thanks. Listening was number 1. I was slightly surprised by that, but actually very hot. Brilliant. Let's let them do more. Right. E-connect with magnetism. Well, that's all about managing your social media online presence, being proactive, compelling in your messaging. Proactively building and maintaining relationships is about taking responsibility for making contact with other people and not waiting for other people to contact you. And it's also about nurturing. Somebody said that right at the beginning, I thought the definition networking is. It's very, very rare I hear anybody say nurturing, but that is a vital part of networking, building integrity. And okay, there's a bit of a sting in the tail, so assertiveness. Sometimes you may be networking at events and you find you bump into the same people. And maybe for some reason there is somebody there who doesn't like you, puts you down or makes fun of you. And then you've got a choice, do we just ignore them? Or do we find a way of dealing with it, perhaps dealing with it later? Well, effective networkers always told us that they always like to deal with it, not let that kind of thing fester. So that's about using your assertiveness skills to manage those situations well. And finally, building a distinctive reputation, which is, what's special about us, which is what we all know is such a vital aspect of this. So this could be about building your personal brand. It could be about becoming a sort of a third-party networking node. So you're very good at, because of the way you built up your network, you know people who might be able to help other people, and you're very willing to offer that introduction. It can change people's lives. And finally, yes, building a distinctive reputation is like giving talks wherever, whenever. Like me doing this here today. So thank you very much. Hope you found that useful.
Thank you.
Yes, we've come to a decision with regards to the fact that we've had a tie for the networking bingo quiz. So, the three recipients, if you'd like to come forward while the rest of us grab coffees, we've actually got given you the opportunity to take away one of the three books that Stuart's brought with him today, as well as a spot of Prosecco. So we'll let you fight over in terms of which of those choices is your preference. It is just approaching 20 past 11. Don't worry, sorry.
No, carry on, sorry. I was just going to quickly say, we just need a few more headshots,
Yes.
so if anybody hasn't had those.